Okay, welcome into this prophetic word. I'm really excited for this one. So, this is all about getting off the bench and being an active player in this kind of game or this world that's going on right now. So, this is for you specifically if you feel like you haven't been a main player or a main character in your life or in other people's life. You felt more like you've been benched, like you've been on the sidelines and you haven't really been active. Kind of like you just feel like you are a background character as opposed to the main character in your own personal life or slash in God's mission for you and for the world. So you might be feeling right now that God has put you on the bench or put you to the side and is not actually showcasing you or using you in the way that maybe you're used to. Maybe you're used to more activity from God, more direction from God, a higher purpose or more responsibility from God to actually do or complete bigger tasks. And maybe right now it's felt like God has been distant, or you haven't heard God as much, or you've been kind of just doing these small things, but you haven't really been doing anything that feels big or feels significant or feels like it is a main character energy. And the message that God has today is that you're benched right now because you're still making decisions based on what you want and what you choose instead of what God wants for you. So, this is the big distinction between using free will and aligning to God's will. So, the reason that you're benched right now, because you are, that is the reality. You're not, God can't give you these responsibilities because God can't trust you enough right now. And although that can be really hard to hear, sometimes you need to just hear it. Sometimes you need to understand this is why there isn't this main character energy going on right now in your life, because God has to put you on the side because you're still doing actions that maybe God doesn't want you to do, or God has told you not to do, or you're just not being as obedient as God needs you to be in order for Him to trust you with the bigger things. So, right now, if you're like feeling this energy, you're like, I'm sick of being on the bench. Like, I want this main role again. I want to hear God more again. I want to contribute more. I want more responsibility. You're like, God wants you off the bench. And you're going to see that there's a part two to this video. But you're going to have to evaluate in your life what things, and I want you as an activity to go through your whole day. What in your day to day life is out of alignment to God's will for you? Consider everything God has guided you to do or told you to do or not do, and what things are you still doing? What actions are still you using your free will because that's what you want to do compared to what God would have for you to do? Think about how you're spending your free time. Are you scrolling on your phone? What food or drinks are you consuming that God maybe said, no. And I'll give you an example of that for me personally is coffee. God does not want me drinking coffee, but I still keep going for the coffee every single day. And so I'm giving you that example so you have an idea of even just the small little things. If you can't be obedient to something small as, and you'll see in my videos, I will call myself out and I will include myself in the conversation because I don't want you to think that I am like this perfect person. I want you to be able to understand how easy it is to have these faults and kind of be able to course correct yourself through seeing yourself through the fact that I'm not perfect either. But for example, like I literally have a coffee right here. I have a coffee right there, and I know that I should be drinking tea. So if God can't trust you with these small things, then God cannot trust you with the big things. God is not going to give you a big mission or a big assignment if you're still doing these little small things. So what you need to do, or your assignment from this video, is take out a journal, take out a pen, and then I want you to write down every single thing in your day-to-day life that you're doing that you know that God doesn't want you to do, or you think maybe that goes against what God wants for me in my life. Once you have an idea of those habits, you need to cut them out. And they may be hard. I know some of them, like coffee addiction, like those are addictions. So there's depth to that. This isn't necessarily going to be this easy thing. Maybe it is, and I pray that it is for you. But for some of these things, they're going to require discipline. They're going to require integrity. They're going to require you to step up out of this old version of yourself. And I feel like this can be longer than I expect, but there the last thing that's coming through here is it's just like the reason you're still in these old cycles or doing these old habits is because you're still attached to an old version of yourself. There's an old version of yourself that you don't want to let go of because you don't know what the next version is. You have no idea what you, who is just fully in the armor of Christ, fully devoted to this path, you don't know what it looks like. And so you're basically like, I don't know what is coming in front of me, so let me turn around and go do all these habits that I know subconsciously, maybe consciously, keeps me tied to the old cycles. This could be like doom scrolling, this could be watching like TV shows, this could be listening to secular music, this could be things like drinking coffee, just staying in relationships or jobs that you know God doesn't want you in. If you subconsciously know that specific action, behavior, habit, or person keeps me in the old cycle and you're subconsciously terrified to step into the next one, what's going to happen is naturally you're going to do that habit until you can override the subconscious. So I think that's everything that wants to come through in part 1 of this video. I am hearing God like tell me, ask me to teach you how to override the subconscious, but that is a big process. I'm like writing something about it right now, so I guess that can be explained in something that I'm writing. But in order to actually override that subconscious is you need to bring it conscious. So you need to actually evaluate the different points in your life. I would suggest to override your subconscious in this scenario. I don't know, like can't breathe there. You're going to grab a pen and a paper and you are going to evaluate the specific habits that you might have and why are you still stuck? Like, why are you subconsciously still looking behind you? Why are you still attached to this old version of yourself? And start to understand why your subconscious is trying to keep you safe. Because if you can understand why the subconscious is trying to keep you safe, then you can override it by bringing consciousness into it and basically communicating to your inner self, hey, like it's actually safe, and building up the safety mechanism within your body somatically to then be able to stop going back to the old timeline or the old ways of being. So this is part 1 of getting yourself back in the game. And I will make sure that part 2 is linked in the description box below because these videos go together, though they will not be posted on the same day. So if you are catching this the first day it posts, or maybe they will, we'll see. But it will be in the description box below about one day after.